this shop really has a lot of history behind it. It's hard to believe that this car was last built in here around 2002, you know, so other than that, the shop still looks the same pretty much. So throughout this episode, we're gonna have a couple of guests spew in here. I have a former employee over here. We're gonna talk with the current owner of this shop and see how it was when he first bought it and go more in depth about it. So we'll be right back. What's up, man? Good. All right, folks, welcome back. Like I said before, early in the video, I had a few surprise special guests, and I want to bring in my first guest, who is the current owner of Vengeance Racing and also a former employee here at the former headquarters, GMMG Incorporated. My good friend, Mr. Ron Mauer. Ron, what's up, man?
I'm good, man. How are you, bro?
Good, good.
Good to see you,
man. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you pull up to this place?
Dude, it's surreal.
Yeah.
You know, just even the drive over here was crazy. And then pulling on the JBL Industrial Drive, so many memories. Coming up to the big blue building. Right. You know, and just walking in here, just like flashbacks of my 20s, you know, kind of where I got my start in life, and seeing it now and seeing the differences and seeing the differences in me pulling in here. Right. It's just way more intense than I expected it to be. Yeah. Yeah. Because you got your start. Now, you wasn't here from the very beginning. So when did you actually start here at GMMG? I came in 01. Okay. Middle of 01. I had just gotten out of the military. I was a Army Ranger down at Fort Benning for 4 years. And I got out with the intent of pursuing a career in law enforcement. And the whole reason I got out of the military was kind of how it was getting more politically correct and whatnot. And I'm just not like, I'm not that person. Right. So I quickly found out that law enforcement was the same. I had actually applied and got accepted to Florida State Patrol and U.S. Border Patrol. Okay. And FSP told me to learn Spanish and plan on living in Miami for the first couple of years. Wow, wow. And U.S. Border Patrol said, I hope you like riding horses and you're going to Texas. And with the political correctness of everything that was going on at the time, I abandoned ship on both opportunities. Right. And it's kind of funny how I found GMMG. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was actually a Ford guy back then. Really? I had something new, because I didn't know that. Yeah, man. I was on Mustang number 3. Wow. It was a 97 Cobra triple black convertible. Yeah, nice. Had every bolt on in the world. And like I said, I was fresh out of the military. I was just cruising up 85 North one day, and I came up on a little red 4th gen Camaro. Yeah. You know, I was 21, 22 years old back then. You like to play. And that guy didn't play. He ate my lunch. He put bus links on my little Mustang. And we pulled over and shot the shit for a few minutes. And the next day I bought his car. Wow. So the car was built by a performance shop that used to be next door to this. Oh, really? Okay. So I was coming to visit the performance shop, you know, let them know I was the new owner of the car. Yeah. And see what else we could do to it and just learn about it. You know, I didn't know anything about LS cars at that point in my life. Right. You know, and the car was a 2000 Camaro. It was one of the first in the state that had heads cam package on it. So it was like unheard of at that point. Right. And when I rode past this place, I saw it and it intrigued me. I didn't really have a direction in life at that point. Cars were my passion. Right. I wasn't pursuing law enforcement. So I just stopped and knocked on the door and asked them if they were hiring, you know, if I could get a job here. Wow. Didn't even know the significance of what the company was at that point. Wow. Wow, that's big time, man. Yeah, because this place, I remember when I first heard of it, you know, most of y'all know I drive for UPS. And early in the days when I was delivering residentials, the guy had probably one of the cleanest 99 Z28s that you could imagine. And I remember driving by his house every day. It would just be out there glistening. Finally, I was able to catch him, and we got to talking. And
he popped the hood and he showed me all the stuff that was done. I was like, man, that's a clean air box, man. Where'd you get that from? He's like, oh, it's a place out in Marietta, man. It's not open to the public, but they do some stuff, man. They working on some stuff for Dale Earnhardt. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. You know, my buddy, he works out there, so I take it to him, and he's the one that put the box on there. I said, okay. So then as I collect all kinds of magazines, you know, from Super Chevy to Camaro Performance, all that. So I kind of started doing my research, and that's when I started kind of seeing the GMMG cars and whatnot. So one day I got off work. I said, I'm going to drive by this place. You know, I had the address, pulled up, and it wasn't nothing I expected, because I was like, man, this place, I don't think this is it, but this is the address. And I'll never forget, I went to that door, and a lady kind of just propped open the door like, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, is this GMMG? And she was like, it is, but this is not open to the public, young man. You got something going on with your car? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, this ain't a regular maintenance shop. I could point you to a couple of guys or whatnot who does that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, sorry to bother you. But it was just crazy because everything was just covered, man. I was just like, wow. So, of course, I started reading more into it. And then, of course, seeing all the cars, you know, the Dale Earnhardt cars, the Berger cars, the Tom Henrys, I mean, the whole nine. So it was just very intriguing. So once you got your foot in the door here, like, how did you, like, did Matt Murphy hire you on the spot, or you had to kind of work?
Well, I wish I could say I didn't experience the same thing you did about the not open to the public part, but no, I got the same treatment. And the door was closed. They would open it, and I basically said, hey, my name is Ron. I'm looking for work. This place looks really cool. And the door would shut. It took, I think it was like 3.5 weeks. I showed up every morning at like 7 a.m. so that I would be here no matter what time the owner got here. Some of the guys here enjoyed having fun with the fact that you're not open to the public. So they would pay me zero attention until Matt would get here. And no, man, I think it was right at 3.5 weeks, and Matt pulled up. He wasn't a 7 a.m. guy, by the way. He was an 11:30, 12 o'clock guy.
Oh, man.
But he pulled up one morning, and he's like, you're just not going to take no for an answer, are you? I said, no, sir. I was like, when I want something, I get it. And, I told him, I said, dude, I'll start at the ground up. I just want an opportunity to prove myself. I said, coming out of the 75th Ranger Regiment, there was nothing they were going to put on me that I couldn't embrace and take on with pride. And so he offered me a job, gave me $15 an hour, and my first job here, the line of trees that overhang the fence out here, they gave me a manual bow saw.
Oh, damn.
And this was July. And they told me to drop any branches that overhung the fence line because they would be dropping sap on the cars that were parked out here. And by the way, don't let any branches or needles hit the cars.
Because y'all had all the cars and stuff.
Man, at that point, they were, when I came in, we had Earnhardt cars here. We had Bergers and Tom Henrys, Blackbirds. But the big kick at that point was filling the back lot with the ZL1s. So there were literally at one point, there was 72 2002 Camaros in that back lot. And they were all backed up based on build number. And obviously that back row, man, with all the trees hanging over, they would get sap and you know, just normal stuff. So I was out there for about a week and a half, man, with a bow saw. Didn't faze me a bit. I'm like, cool, whatever. I know what you're doing to me, but I've been
trying to make you quit, basically break you.
I've been hazed on a whole nother level, so that didn't faze me. And then tractor and trailer started showing up, man. They had a GM truck would bring 72 SS hoods. 72 SS spoilers, 72 sets of C5 Corvette calipers and rotors. And you'll never guess who got to offload all that stuff and stack it in the 40-foot connexes that were back here for all the parts. So kind of, I did the trees, I did the connexes, and then upstairs we had a parts room, and I built all the shelving for that parts room and then started moving parts from the connex upstairs. And at that point, Matt and everybody kind of agreed, like, hey, This guy.
Let's go ahead. Yeah, this guy's been through enough. Let's go ahead and give him a break.
He's obviously not going to quit.
Right.
And he's working. So, yeah, I got my first paycheck and started at the ground level, man, and just worked my way up quickly over time.
Wow.
And was a pretty significant part of the team there for quite a few years.
Cool. Now, when did you actually start? Did you know anything about building engines and all that back then? Did you have any background as far as being a mechanic or anything?
No, I had always tinkered with my own stuff, did my own bolt-on modifications, and it was every bit of probably 2.5, maybe 3 years before I touched a wrench in this building.
Wow.
I was, a utility first and foremost. Would wash cars before they came in so that we wouldn't scratch the paint while they were being worked on.
Right.
I would prep out all the parts for the builds for the 2 technicians that they had, lay everything out military style, pick up all the stuff that came off it, and then at some point, like I said, 2.5, 3 years in, I started getting involved in roll cages, where I would completely disassemble the interior. We would fit the roll cage. I didn't know how to weld at that point. I had one of the techs would come over. I would mock everything up, hold it in place. He would come over and tack it. And then when everything was done, he would full weld the cage, and then I would trim the carpet in the interior and put it back together.
Wow.
And then it just kind of evolved from that point forward of more and more real work and not so much just, not busy work, but I went from a utility to a person on a lift and being heavily involved in the cars.
Oh, sweet, sweet. So during that time frame, like the day-to-day operations, like I noticed y'all had all the cars here at one point. So on certain days we working on the DEI cars, certain days we working on the Berger cars, or is this kind of just whoever's in the line of rotation?
Well, we kind of tried to clear the lot to get it full-blown ZL1.
Okay.
Because once that project was announced and buyers started lining up, they wanted their cars.
Right.
So it was built in order of deposits received, but it was primary ZL1. And you had phase 1, 2, and 3 at that point. Phase 1 on a ZL1 wasn't the factory LS1. It was actually a crate LS6.
Right. That's
so
right.
every car that hit the lift got an engine swap, and the phase 1 was a bolt-on LS6. The phase 2, there was a couple of different levels, but initially it was a 435 horse camshaft and cylinder head upgrade. Some variations came down the road to really pick up some additional power, and then phase 3 was the C5R race case 427.
Right.
But we stayed ZL1 pretty hardcore, and it was a very fast moving project. The cars came in, some of them had custom paint colors and whatnot.
Right, I did see something about that. Yeah.
A lot of the buyers, a lot of the people that still own those cars today had the original 69 version.
Right.
So if they had number 14 in frost green, they wanted number 14 2002, and they wanted a black car that they could paint frost green to match.
Right.
And they did 427s to match the original 427s.
Right.
It was really, really cool, man.
Man, that's a hell of a story, man. Just listening to all that background. Like I said, I'm a part of the GMMG forum group on Facebook or whatnot, and I see so many archives of, talking about the Fred Gibbs cars and just the whole nine as far as just the build quality and stuff. And even looking at old photographs, like, the cars, because I'm assuming all the lifts and everything were kind of on this side of the shop pretty much.
Yeah, so there was 3 lifts, and they were kind of about just forward of the entry door over there, a couple of feet apart. And then this was actually an open area. We had an electrical guy that came in, Kevin, that would wire up. He did upgraded mirrors in all the cars. Power antennas on Camaros, which wasn't a thing.
Right.
And he upfit all of that stuff.
That's the first thing I noticed, that this car had a power antenna, because my 98 was just a regular.
Man, there were so many subtle touches to those cars that the average consumer, this having a Tom Henry car, the average person does no clue what the car is, or all the intricacies of the car. And the mirrors, the dash overlays. You've got that Tom Henry dash overlay in there.
Right.
The DEI cars, half of them were actually signed by Dale Earnhardt himself. You know, just a lot of small touches. The brass plaques in the door jams. You know, Matt, he had a really cool thing going there for many years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true. It shows the true identity of those cars, because that was going to lead to my next question. Like when you was doing the Tom Henrys or whatnot, I'm assuming y'all just did the engine and everything. Did he put his own placard up top, or did y'all do everything before it left out of here?
Oh, we did everything.
Did everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did everything. We had it all made. You know, Matt had worked with bezel companies and badge companies, and you know, whether it was Tom Henry, Berger, DEI, whatever, he supplied those things, and the cars left here 100%.
Okay. So about the time frame you was here, about what, 3-4 years? Roughly?
No, I was here for 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, five and some change. I left June of 06 was whenever we left to start Vengeance Racing.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so 2.5, 3, you know, half of it was utility and then half of it was more important guy.
Okay. Now, what prompted to leave you just wanted to start your own thing, or?
A couple of things, man. You know, it's no secret that GMMG's primary focus in life was 4th gen F bodies. Well, by the time we hit 06, there's only so many brand new 4th gen F bodies you're going to find in the world.
Because they stopped building them in 2002, right?
Right. So, you know, looking at my future, that was a concern. You know, what happens if we run out of cars?
Right.
And Matt, man, he was adamant. You know, Mike actually tried really hard and pushed. Got him to do a couple of C5 Z06s. We did some Home Depot performance trucks.
Yeah, I saw the trucks, for Tony Stewart and back when he was driving for them, right?
Yep, yeah, Matt's wife worked at Home Depot corporate.
Okay.
So it kind of tied in, and she was able to make that happen. It was a really cool deal. And then we had
Matt.
Oh yeah, Mike had the red SS pickup truck. We did an SS Silverado clone, but a standard cab with a 6-speed. But Matt was dead set on 4th gen F bodies, and it got to a point where it was concerning.
Yeah.
You know, and then the other side of it was being the enthusiast that I was. With us not being open to the public, we did have to rely on our own cars with outside shops and whatnot to build engines for us and things of that nature. We could do work in the shop after hours, limited, but we still had to rely on, you know, the MTI of Atlanta, the RP Motorsports, and I even went out of state to a couple of shops in Louisiana.
Wow.
And for me, the experience was always disappointing. It was always lackluster.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel that the average performance shop gave you an experience.
Right.
Half the time they didn't give you the product you paid for.
Right.
Much less an actual, like a business transaction. You know, and that's kind of where the evolution of Vengeance came from. I'm like, we had somewhat of a following here, you know, like you said, you came up and got the door shut.
Right.
We had a lot of people like that, you know, like, hey, can you build my car? Can you do this? So I started doing some cars on the side at buddies' houses and whatnot, heads cam packages, and kind of started alluding to the fact that there was going to be a public version of what we did here.
Right.
And it just took off, man. A lot of people don't know this, but before Vengeance was born, we actually approached Matt and we wanted to open a sister company called GMMG Inc. Racing. And it was going to be, we were going to put up a building next door, open to the public, and offer not the same, but open heads cam packages and things like that, 427s, whatever, but with the same quality and standards that GMMG was known for. But Matt was smart. He wanted nothing to do with that. He wasn't focused on financial gain. He wasn't focused on growth. He was focused on being a purist with General Motors and building stuff that mattered. He was highly connected to these projects. You know, he would get so involved with Mrs. Gibb and Mrs. Harrell and all of the crew members that were still alive and things like that. So he wanted nothing to do with opening to the public. So that's kind of how Vengeance was born.
Yeah, because he had a lot of, you know, I noticed part of his story, you know, about him and Scott. I guess Matt was probably working at SLP at some point. And Scott Settlemeyer which I didn't know was related to Tom Henry. I believe they're like cousins or something.
Yep.
So it all kind of, like, I think he was doing all the allocations, getting you guys the cars and whatnot, and how everything just, you know, came together. So right before you guys left, did you ever get yourself a GMMG car? Like, I've seen something about Mike having the car.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. But did you ever leave out of here with a car?
So the red Camaro that I had when I was hired, you know, the Z01 project was 60% done, and we were rolling into what was next. And Matt had secured a contract with General Motors to reproduce the Sunoco car that GM had produced.
Right.
With all the
blue car, the wide body.
Yeah, blue and yellow with all the wide body stuff and all that. They had built that car one off.
Okay.
No molds, no nothing.
Right.
So they agreed to let us produce those panels, but they would have to be recreated. So Matt basically, again, Camaros are getting scarce. Right. So to not utilize a car that could go to a good client, somebody, you know, like that was alive in the Harrell age, which it wasn't Dick Harrell at first, honestly. Matt interviewed Joel Rosen for Motion Performance, and that fortunately didn't work out. And then the Dick Harrell thing did, which was extremely cool. But Matt came to me and he was like, hey, if you would be willing to let me use your car as the prototype car to go up to General Motors and get the clay modeling process done, we'll make you one of the prototypes, and you can have yourself a Dick Harrell wide body. Wow. And I mean, dude, I was 22, 23 years old at the time, and to know that my car was going to sit in the GM design studio,
that's crazy,
beside the Sunoco car, and just have a mirror image of that car created. And I got 100 pictures of that thing, a red Camaro wrapped in Georgia clay, you know, and just them shaving it and all that. But so I did, we actually deemed it Dick Harrell Drag Car 1, DHDC 1, because the prototypes went to Valerie and a couple of other people.
That was his daughter, right?
Yeah, Valerie Harrell was Dick's daughter. Okay. Yeah, and her fiance or husband were the people we worked with. You know, she had the legacy of Dick Harrell and all the rights to it, so she was who we worked with to go through that process.
Cool, cool. That's such a surreal moment, man.
It was cool, man. We did we painted my car candy apple red to match the original '69 Dick Harrell car. You know, put a Mosier 12 bolt in it, full cage, gutted it, put it on big and littles. You know, it really went for the full drag car theme. With the Dick Harrell stripe down the side and all that. It was surreal for sure.
Man, whatever happened to that car?
You know, we got it finished, and it was a long, arduous process to get the Dick Harrell cars through the building. The body work was painstaking. The implementation of the production of the panels was a lot more tedious and a lot more I don't know the word, painful. To get them going. So we got my car finished. I was in heaven, thought it was the coolest thing in the world. But again, at the time, I was early 20s. And dude, I was a broke teenager. I didn't have the money. I just bought my first home. I didn't even have the money to buy an enclosed trailer to trailer my car around and show it. And then with the launch of Vengeance Racing, I just felt that my priorities needed to be in other areas. And that I could utilize that car as kind of like a starting point to my life. You know, going from a $20, $25 an hour kid to having a six-figure bank account and revisit it someday later, you know. So I sold it, and it sat in a museum in Charlotte for over a decade. And it's extremely cool that we're doing this today, because just a few months ago I had the opportunity to see the car. One of my favorite customers from the GMMG era purchased it and sent it directly to me to have us go through it. You know, service the injectors, fluids front to back, dyno tune it, fresh rubber. And man, when the car showed up, it had not been touched
Wow.
since the day I sold it.
Wow.
Still had the same Mickey Thompson ET drags
Wow.
from 06.
Wow,
You know?
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was, man. So.
That's crazy. Now, one thing I did see, and then we transition to Vengeance. I saw that Mike had purchased one of the, he had a car, one of the Blackbirds, the collector edition ones.
Yeah.
I think it was car number 7. The
Yeah, I think so.
convertible. Was that, how many of those did y'all actually build? It was like a small number? And
Yeah, very limited number production. Mike had the Cedar car, and then he built, for his ZL1, he built a Grumpy Jenkins tribute car.
Okay.
It had a 427 solid roller in it, painted the ivory white that Grumpy was famous for.
Right.
And we actually went to Indianapolis Nationals one year and met with Grumpy and got him to come out and look at the car and basically authenticate it, document it, and make it legitimate. And let me tell you, he is a grumpy old man. And then for the Dick Harrell project, Mike actually bought a convertible.
okay.
And was the only convertible to ever be produced with the wide body kit.
Wow. Wow.
So a true one-of-one car there.
Wow.
And he did a 454 in it. You know, at that point, it was late in the game. So a few updated aftermarket parts made their way into that. It was more of a, both of our cars were more of a custom one-off piece specific to us. So Matt let us go a little bit on the creativity, you know, like obviously I didn't have C5 brakes on my car.
Right.
I had strange race brakes.
Right.
You know, so the same with Mike's convertible. He did some stuff on that to really enhance the performance above and beyond the normal stuff that was out there.
Okay.
Outside of it being a one-of-one convertible.
Wow, sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, like I said, folks, you know, we're here with Mr. Ron Mauer, the current owner of Vengeance Racing. We're gonna take another field trip over to Ron shop and show you guys what goes on there, and then possibly take out this beauty right here, this C8 Z06 that is very nice. I can't wait to get my hands behind it. So let's head over to the Ron shop.